The alarm in my helmet screamed 3 seconds before the wall in front of me turned to dust. I did not flinch. None of us did. That is the first thing the galaxy never understood about people like me. My name is Daniel Ashford, and on the night the Corvith Compact tried to break our colony on Essel Station, I was standing in a service corridor with 5 other soldiers, waiting for the order that would make us disappear into the dark. The Corvith ships above us were the size of small moons. Their commanders had studied 100 species before meeting us, and every single one of those species had taught them the same lesson: when the sky opens up and death rains down, living things run. They had never fought humans before. The order came through my earpiece in a voice as calm as a man reading a grocery list. Go. We moved. I want you to understand something before I go further. We were not the biggest soldiers in the galaxy. We were not the strongest, or the fastest, or the ones with the thickest skin. The Tarn cluster had warriors 9 feet tall who could crush stone with their bare hands. The Velkari had reflexes 3 times faster than ours. On paper, in every measurable way, humans were the weakest soldiers in known space. But the galaxy had never measured the thing that actually mattered. We moved through the broken corridor in total silence. 6 shapes in dark armor, stepping over rubble that used to be a hallway full of children's drawings pinned to a wall. I did not look at the drawings. I could not afford to. There would be time for that later, if there was a later. The first Corvith soldier we found was guarding a junction, his weapon raised, his 4 eyes scanning for movement. Velkari intelligence reports had told the Compact that humans needed light to see, needed warmth to feel safe, needed long rest before we could fight well. All true, on a good day. This was not a good day, and we had trained for nights exactly like it. He never saw the soldier beside me close the distance. One moment he stood guard. The next moment he was zip-tied to the floor with restraints, breathing, alive, but no longer a threat, his weapon already in our hands. We did not waste time. We did not celebrate. We kept moving, because somewhere deeper in that station, 300 colonists were locked in a cargo bay, and every second counted against them. That is the part the galaxy still struggles to explain about us. We do not fight for glory. We do not fight because we enjoy it. We fight because somewhere, someone we have never met is counting on a stranger to come through a wall and get them out, and humans decided a long time ago that we would be that stranger. The second resistance came at a stairwell. 3 Corvith soldiers spread across the landing above us. My team leader, a quiet woman named Olivia Hart, raised one hand, and every one of us stopped breathing at the exact same moment, like a single creature instead of 6. She had served 12 years before this mission. She had taught half of us everything we knew about staying alive in the dark. She gave no spoken command. She did not need to. We had drilled this exact stairwell scenario so many times in simulation that our bodies already knew the shape of the next 90 seconds before our minds caught up. 2 of us went left. 2 of us went right. Olivia and I went straight up the center, moving fast and low, using the dark like a coat instead of a curtain. The Corvith soldiers above us were trained to expect noise, to expect panic, to expect the kind of chaos that gives away a position. What they got instead was silence, and then suddenly 6 soldiers were already among them before a single warning shot could be fired. It was over before their commander even finished raising his weapon. We secured the stairwell, restrained the survivors, and kept moving. No one spoke. No one needed to. I think about that moment often, the way that Corvith commander's eyes widened just before we reached him. Not fear of pain, fear of something else entirely. Fear of the unknown. Because in that instant, he understood something his entire species had never had to learn before. Humans do not need an advantage to win. We build one, out of nothing, out of darkness and silence and trust in each other, every single time. The cargo bay was 4 levels down, behind a sealed door that the Corvith had wired to keep anyone from entering or leaving. 300 people sat against the walls inside, families holding each other, an old man with his arm wrapped around 2 frightened children who were not his own, because in moments like that, every adult becomes responsible for every child in the room. Olivia worked the door controls while the rest of us held the corridor. My hands were steady, my breathing was even. I want to be honest with you though. Inside, my heart was pounding harder than it had ever pounded in my life, because behind that door were people who had spent 6 hours believing that no one was coming for them. The door opened. For 1 full second, nobody in that cargo bay moved. They had heard stories about Corvith raids on other colonies, stories that never ended well. They expected more soldiers, more weapons, more reasons to be afraid. Instead, they saw 6 humans lowering their weapons and stepping back to make a clear path to the exit. The old man was the first to stand. He looked at Olivia, and his voice cracked when he asked if it was really over. She told him it was. and that we were getting every single person out, together, no one left behind. I have fought in places across 3 different star systems since that night. I have seen things that would change the way most people look at the universe forever, but nothing has stayed with me the way that Cargo Bay did. 300 people rising to their feet at once, children reaching for the hands of soldiers they had never met, trusting us completely, because we had done the one thing that mattered most. We had shown up. The evacuation took 11 minutes. 11 minutes of careful movement through a station still groaning from the attack. 11 minutes where 6 soldiers became 306 people moving as one toward the surface and the waiting transport ships above. When the last transport lifted off Ezel Station that night, the Corvette fleet had already begun its retreat. Their commanders reported back to the compact with a warning that would spread through a dozen star systems within a single week. They had learned in one night what dozens of species would soon come to understand about the soldiers from a small blue planet most of the galaxy had never bothered to study closely. We were never the strongest. We were never the fastest. We were never the ones built by nature to win a fight against the odds stacked before us. But humans had learned something no simulation could teach, and no enemy could break. We had learned to trust the soldier beside us with our lives, every single time, without hesitation, without question. I did not see any of that history unfold from a command room or a briefing screen. I saw it from the deck of the transport ship, sitting beside the old man who had stood first in that cargo bay. His name was Charles, and his hands had not stopped shaking since the moment the door opened. I sat with him anyway, because shaking hands deserve company, not silence. He asked me why we came, not how, not when, just why. Corvette fleets had passed by other colonies before and turned away without firing a shot, judging the cost of taking them too high to bother. He wanted to know why 6 soldiers had walked into a station already written off by half the galaxy as lost. I told him the truth. We came because someone asked us to, and because no one on Ezel Station deserved to spend their last hours believing the universe had forgotten them. He nodded slowly, looking at the children asleep against the wall beside him, and he said something I have carried with me since. He said that until that night, he had always believed strength was the only thing that kept people safe in the dark corners of space. Now he understood it was something else entirely. Olivia found me an hour later, standing near the viewport, watching Ezel Station shrink behind us into a single point of light. She did not ask if I was all right. She already knew the answer, the same way I would have known hers. Instead, she stood beside me without a word, the two of us watching the station fade, carrying the weight of that night the only way soldiers like us ever learn how. Together, in silence, side by side. The galaxy gave us many names that year. Monsters, demons, things that came from the dark and left silence behind them. We never called ourselves any of those things. We called ourselves Special Forces. And we showed up, every single time, for every single person who needed us. Because that is what humans do when everything else in the universe says we should run.